come to order. The chapel of the day leading us in the prayer is Father Joe Holzhauser from St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church here in Pierre. The pages of the day leading us in the pledge are Grace Tefts from Onaka and Lane Euchre from Pierre.
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, as we begin another day in this chamber, we do so with great hope. We know that you are with us, and we want you to guide us in every step. We ask special grace upon all those who serve in the Senate. May your presence fill this space and our hearts, inspiring us to love all and to serve them in humility and peace. We ask that you bless all those who will be traveling, keep them safe. Bless those who are affected by the long, bitter cold snap. And we also ask that you would bless those who are sick to the point of recovery. We make this prayer in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, will please call the roll.
Senator Blair, Boland, Kamak, Cronin, Kurd, DeSanto, Ewing, Foster, Greenfield, Heiner, Jensen, Colbeck, Langer, Maher, Norstrup, Otten, Partridge, Rush, Russell, Schoenbeck, Smith, Sohold, Solano, Stalzer, Steinhauer, Sutton, White, Wick, Wismer, and Youngberg. We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Approval of the journal.
Mr. President, the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Secretary of the Senate has had under consideration the Senate Journal of the 31st day. All errors, typographical or otherwise, are duly marked in the temporary journal for correction, and we hereby move the adoption of the report. Senator Greenfield, Chair.
Comments on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. For the doctor of the day, we had Clark Lickness from Watertown. Dr. Lickness, are you in the right up here? Thank you for helping us out. Thanks for being here. For announcements, we have with us today 14 outstanding undergraduate students from South Dakota colleges and universities. They are here to demonstrate firsthand the important connection between research and higher education. These students have their research posters in the their posters in the rotunda to share the results. A bunch of posers. In the rotunda to share the results of their research efforts. They are the best of the best among South Dakota's undergraduate researchers from public, private, and tribal universities from South Dakota. Are you in the gallery? Right up there. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the State Senate. Senator Kamak, I see you have some unauthorized personnel on the floor. Would you care to explain?
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I've got my wife Amy and my son Reed and his wife Amber and Miles up in the gallery. Reed and Amber represent the 5th generation of ranchers in western South Dakota.
And I have the privilege of introducing, let's see, on behalf of Senator Cronin, Sunshine Bible Academy, is that your district? On behalf of Senator Cronin and myself, as Sunshine Bible Academy is my alma mater for high school, the junior and senior classes, they are escorted by Jamie McLean and Cheryl McLean. Would you all stand? Welcome to the State Senate. Any other personal privileges before we get started? Reports of standing committees.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Appropriations had under consideration House Bills 1254 and 1264, recommending due pass. House Bill 1046, recommending due pass to be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1187, recommending due pass as amended, and they recommend deferring House Bill 1229 to the 41st legislative day. Senator Wick, Chair. Committee on Judiciary had under consideration House Bills 1050 and 1272, recommending due pass. House Bill 1193, recommending due pass to be placed on the consent calendar, and House Bill 1110, which was amended, and then they recommend that it be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Russell, Chair. Committee on Commerce and Energy had under consideration House Bill 1053, and they recommend due pass. House Bills 1032 and 1202, recommending due pass and to be placed on the consent calendar. Senator Stalzer, Chair. And a late coming report here. The Committee on Agricultural and Natural Resources had under consideration House Bill 1191, and they recommend due pass. Senator Kamak, Chair. And the Committee on Legislative Procedure respectfully reports that the Office of Engrossing and Enrolling has carefully compared Senate Bills 53, 63, 85, 100, 113, 121, and 154, and finds the same correctly enrolled. Senator Greenfield, Chair.
And also on behalf of Senator Greenfield, White, and Cronin, we'd ask the Senate to welcome the Senate gallery, the Hitchcock Tulare government class. Are you in the gallery? Well, somebody let me know if they show up. Messages.
Mr. President, I have the honor to transmit Senate Bills 53, 63, 85, 100, 113, 121, and 154, which have passed the House without change. I have the honor to return Senate Bills 55, 64, 70, 72, and 73, which have been amended by the House, and your concurrence in the amendments is respectfully requested. And I have the honor to inform the body that Senate Bills 117 and 148 were lost in the House. And I have the honor to transmit House Bill 1256, which has passed the House and your favorable consideration is requested. Sandy J. Zinter, Chief Clerk.
Motions and resolutions.
Senator Boland moves that Senate Page Resolution Number 4 be adopted.
Comments on that motion? Must have been a really bad class. Nobody wants to talk about them. Oh, Senator Boland. Yes, why don't you come up here, and then we'll have you guys stand, just line up here in the front. All the pages right up here. Just go right.
Senate Page Resolution Number 4. A resolution expressing the appreciation and gratitude of the Senate for the 94th Legislature of the State of South Dakota to Melody Beaulieu, Taylor Eggert, Adam Foreman, Caitlin Cromer, Abby Moon, Tori Rasmussen, Grace Treffus, Lane Euchre, Reese Euchre, Caitlin M. Van Dusseldorp, and Avery Weinheimer. Whereas the above names served loyally as pages for the Senate of the 94th Legislative Session, and whereas the members of the 94th Senate expressed their most sincere appreciation to these young people for their service to the state, and whereas the members extend to these young people their wishes for every success in life, Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 94th Legislature of the State of South Dakota that a personal copy of this resolution be duly certified and furnished to each page on their last day of service. Adopted by the Senate February 28th of 2019, signed by Larry Roden, President of the Senate, and K.L. Johnson, Secretary of the Senate.
Further remarks? Senator Nesba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess we'll let him turn around and look this direction for a little while. So thank you. And that's the main thing we want to say. Thank you. We hope that you have enjoyed your experience over the last couple of weeks. We hope that you've learned from this experience from the last couple of weeks. Representative democracy is not a spectator sport, and we are glad that you are here actively participating in the government of your state. Don't stop. Right? This is just the beginning, your introduction to this process. We hope that some of you come back here and take these seats among us, or on the other side if you want. But we want you to stay engaged. Keep in touch with this place, and wherever you end up in the world, be engaged. It makes for a better life for you. It doesn't only make our country better, but it changes who you are if you're the person that's actively engaged, following the news, understanding the public policy issues that confront you, and being able to help make those decisions, because it means it keeps you informed, it keeps you engaged, and it's part of a good life. And that's how representative democracy works. Right? That's why government by the people, for the people, and of the people. We need to maintain that. We need to keep that going. And we're glad that so many young people like you with so many bright prospects are going to continue to do that. So again, we thank you for your service to us, and we look forward for your continued active participation in the government of this state and of this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of page Resolution 4. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Blair. Aye. Bolin. Aye. Kamak. Aye. Cronin. Aye. DeSanto. Aye. Ewing. Aye. Foster. Aye. Greenfield. Aye. Heinert. Aye. Jensen. Aye. Kennedy. Aye. Klum. Aye. Colbeck. Aye. Langer. Aye. Maher. Aye. Monroe. Aye. Nelson. Aye. Nesseba. Aye. Norstrup. Aye. Otten. Aye. Partridge. Aye. Rush. Aye. Russell. Aye. Schoenbeck. Aye. Smith. Aye. Soholt. Aye. Solano. Aye. Stalzer. Aye. Steinhauer. Aye. Sutton. Aye. White. Aye. Wick. Aye. Wismer. Aye. Youngberg. Mr. President, there are 34 yeas, 1 excused.
The motion, having received a majority of member-elect, is hereby declared passed. Thank you. Class 4 pages. And on behalf, the pages asked me to read something on their behalf to the Senate chamber. The Term 4 2019 setting pages would like to thank everyone for their wonderful experience. Thank you to the LRC staff for their dedication and help. Thank you to the committee secretaries for all the work they do to keep things running smoothly. Thank you to the Senate front desk staff for keeping things running smoothly and timely. Thank you to the Lieutenant Governor for his leadership and direction. And finally, thank you to the senators for their kindness, knowledge, help, and conversations. Sincerely, Term 4 pages. Motions and resolutions.
Senator Stalzer moves that the Senate do concur in House amendments to Senate Bill 84.
Comments on that motion? Senator Stalzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only addition to this is to put an emergency clause on it so that schools can get working on this and do their due diligence and have it in place by the time school starts next fall. So I would ask for your concurrence.
Any further comments? Hearing none, the question then is Senator Stalzer's motion that the Senate do concur in House amendments to House Bill 84. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed nay. Secretary will call the roll.
Senator Blair. Bolin. Kamak. Cronin. Kurd. DeSanto. Ewing. Foster. Greenfield. Heinert. Jensen. Kennedy. Klum. Colbeck. Langer. Maher. Monroe. Nelson. Nesseba. Norstrup. Otten. Partridge. Rush. Russell. Schoenbeck. Smith. Soholt. Solano. Stalzer. Steinhauer. Steinhauer. Sutton. White. Wick. Wismer. Youngberg. Nelson. Mr. President, there are 34 yeas, 1 excused.
So the motion having received a majority of members elect is hereby declared passed. Consideration of committee reports.
Senator Langer moves that the reports of the Standing Committee on Health and Human Services on House Bill 1055, the Committee on State Affairs on House Bill 1094, the Joint Committee on Appropriations on Senate Bills 173, 176, and 178 be adopted.
Is there comments on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed nay. Motion carries. First reading of House bills.
House Bill 1256, an act to make an appropriation to fund tax refunds for elderly persons and persons with a disability, to revise the income eligibility requirements for property and sales tax refunds, and to declare an emergency.
The President Pro Tem waived referral of House Bill 1256 pursuant to the provisions of Joint Rule 6D-1, and it will be placed on the calendar for Monday, March 4th, the 33rd legislative day. Keep going. Consent calendar.
House Bill 1080, an act to increase the property tax exemption allowed for certain veterans with a disability and the surviving spouses of certain veterans with a disability. 1122, an act to revise references to persons who are deaf or hard of hearing. 1176, an act to provide for the regulation of saline tattoo removal by municipalities. And House Bill 1081, an act to authorize certain paraplegic or amputee veterans or their surviving spouses to retain a property tax exemption without having to reapply each year.
So House Bill 1080, 1122, 1176, and 1081, having had a second reading, are up for consideration and final passage. Are there any questions? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is final passage of House Bill 1080, 1122, 1176, and 1080. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed nay. The Secretary will call the roll.
Senator Blair. Aye. Bolin. Aye. Kamak. Aye. Cronin. Aye. Kurd. DeSanto. Aye. Ewing. Aye. Foster. Aye. Greenfield. Aye. Heinert. Aye. Jensen. Aye. Kennedy. Aye. Klum. Colbeck. Aye. Langer. Aye. Maher. Aye. Monroe. Aye. Nelson. Nesseba. Aye. Norstrup. Aye. Otten. Aye. Partridge. Aye. Rush. Aye. Russell. Schoenbeck. Smith. Soholt. Solano. Stalzer. Steinhauer. Sutton. White. Wick. Wismer. Youngberg. Mr. President, there are 33 yeas, 2 excused.
So House Bill 1080, 1122, 1176, and 1081, having received affirmative vote of a majority of members elect, are hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, the titles are deemed correct. For the benefit of the students in the audience, a consent calendar is a tool that we use in the legislature to allow us to expedite the process. If a bill had no opposition testimony in committee and it was relatively simple in its content, or so to speak, a no-brainer, it can be placed on the consent calendar by the committee. The consent calendar items all go under one vote. You cannot debate them, you can ask questions, but any member of the Senate can pull it off of the consent calendar and put it on the debate calendar. Second reading of Senate bills.
Senate Bill number 8, an act to provide for a statewide resource information system and to make an appropriation therefore.
Senate Bill 8, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Stalzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill has been through the State Affairs Committee and then to Joint Appropriations, and it's moving forward with just $1 in it so that it can stay alive for further action if and when the appropriations determines there's money available. So I would just ask for your vote to keep it alive for now.
Further remarks on Senate Bill 8? Hearing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 8. This is a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary will call the roll.
Senator Blair? Aye. Bolin? Aye. Kamak? Aye. Cronin? Aye. DeSanto? Aye. Ewing? Aye. Foster? Aye. Greenfield? Heinert? Jensen? Aye. Kennedy? Aye. Klum? Aye. Kobeck? Aye. Langer? Maher? Aye. Monroe? Aye. Nelson? Nesseba? Aye. Norstrup? Aye. Otten? Aye. Partridge? No. Rush? Aye. Russell? Aye. Schoenbeck? Aye. Smith? Aye. Soholt? Aye. Solano? Aye. Stalzer? Aye. Steinhauer? Aye. Sutton? White? Aye. Wick? Aye. Wismer? Aye. Youngberg? Aye. Mr. President, there are 32 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 excused.
Senate Bill 8, having received a majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, title is deemed correct.
I'm going to correct that. It's supposed to be 33 yeas and 1 nay, and 2 excused.
I stand by my previous comments.
Senate Bill 128, an act to make an appropriation to the Gaming Commission Fund to provide for the transfer of funds to the Special Racing Revolving Fund and the South Dakota Bred Racing Fund, and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 128, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Remarks, Senator Monroe.
Thank you and good day, Mr. President. Senate Bill 128 is just an effort to throw a bone back to the horse racers. Over the years, the fund has been depleted and found other ways of funding, and it's a long-held tradition in South Dakota, especially in Aberdeen and Fort Pierre, but many come in to enjoy the races. It's been amended down to $1 because the legislature in its generosity is moving along to make sure that that we are staying within the bounds of the budget. What it does allow is transfer from the general fund to the revolving fund of the racing fund. And the Deadwood Gaming Commission is allowed to disperse the funds as they see fit. It's not a definite amount at a certain time. The emergency clause is just because the races are coming up soon, and it'll be long before July 1, before it would otherwise take effect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President. Stand by.
Further remarks? Senator Maher.
I just echo the previous senator's comments. I've kind of worked on this project a little bit this year too, because I've got quite a few horse breeders up in my country, and this isn't so much about horse racing as it is about the animal industry, agriculture aspect of it. These guys put a lot of time, money, and effort into these events, or into these horses, and then they go to these events to show off the work they've accomplished over the years of working with these horses. And then the gaming part of it is just a little side part of this whole thing, just to keep people interested and keep the industry moving forward. But what's also important of why we need to save horse racing in the state of South Dakota is because they need these gate starts and the experience, get these horses experienced in little races like Fort Pierre and Aberdeen, so then they can move on to the bigger races in Canterbury and then down into Texas and Oklahoma, and they can run that circuit then. But they have to be here in Pierre and Aberdeen to get their start. So with that, I'd ask for your favorable passage.
Further remarks? Any further remarks? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 128. This also requires a 2/3 majority vote, both because of the appropriation and the emergency clause. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed nay. Secretary will call the roll.
Senator Blair. Aye. Bolin. Aye. Kamak. Aye. Cronin. Aye. DeSanto. No. Ewing. Aye. Foster. Aye. Greenfield. Aye. Heinert. Aye. Jensen. No. Kennedy. Aye. Klum. Aye. Colbeck. Aye. Langer. Aye. Maher. Aye. Monroe. Aye. Nelson. Aye. Nesseba. Aye. Norstrup. No. Otten. No. Partridge. Aye. Rush. Aye. Russell. Aye. Schoenbeck. No. Smith. Aye. Soholt. Aye. Solano. Aye. Stalzer. Aye. Steinhauer. Aye. Sutton. No. White. Aye. Wick. Aye. Wismer. Aye. Youngberg. Aye. Mr. President, there are 27 yeas, 7 nays, and 1 excused.
Senate Bill 128, having received a 2/3 majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Go ahead. Good job. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, title is deemed correct. For the benefit of the audience, again, you know, we have a number of bills, Senate bills today. They came out of joint appropriations, and you'll hear them talking about a number of these bills that were reduced to $1. That's a way that they can move these bills through the process when they're still negotiating how much money that they're going to spend on these bills. And a lot of times they'll end up going to from here to the House. The House will amend that amount to something different, and at the end of the day, a lot of them end up in a conference committee at the end of session, so they decide how much money they have available to spend or how much they're going to allocate. Also, on behalf of Senator Greenfield, White, and Cronin, Hitchcock, Tulare government class, teacher Bill Berry are in the gallery, right over here. Please stand. Welcome to the State Senate.
Senate Bill 174, an act to make an appropriation for the construction of a health services building and renovation at the Jameson Prison Annex on the grounds of the state penitentiary and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 174, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the body. I'm here today to present Senate Bill 174. It's an act to make an appropriations for the construction of a health service building and renovation at the Jameson Prison Annex on the grounds of the state penitentiary and to declare an emergency. Jameson Annex on the grounds of the state penitentiary in Sioux Falls opened in 1993 with 288 male beds. In 2006, Unit D opened within the annex and added an additional 192 beds. Health service space remains as designed since 1993. Admission to the prisons have increased. In fiscal year 1993, there were 773 male admissions. Fiscal year 2018, there were 3,007, an increase of 2,234 admissions. All admissions to prison require a health intake assessment. In FY 2018, there were 2,833 patients treated with 22,330 patient encounters at the Jameson Annex Medical Clinic. SB 174 is needed to help erase the current space challenges and limitations, increase efficiencies, and establish an appropriate health care delivery environment for patients and staff. The appropriations would provide a total of 8,800 square feet of new space to include the following enhancements: 5 exam rooms in comparison to the 2 rooms currently available, 4 dental chairs, an increase of 2 chairs, and an additional working space for dental operations. An increase in infirmary beds from 8 to 20 to enhance long-term specialized care. The current 8 infirmary beds are not located within the health services building. An appropriation also provides funding to remodel the vacated infirmary space for behavioral health services, to include space for mental health professionals, a chemical dependency counselor, and a clinic and group room space. No additional FTEs will be required for Department of Social Services. 1 additional 24/7 correctional officer post, an addition of 5.7 Department of Corrections FTEs will be required for security purposes, and an addition of 4 Department of Health FTEs anticipated due to the expanded infirmary. Total appropriations are $7,392,235. This is a much new addition to an improvement to the Jameson Annex, which was stated earlier was built in 1993, and I would appreciate your supportive vote on this bill 174. Thank you.
Further remarks? Any other remarks on Senate Bill 174? Senator Nesba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just rise to support the good senator from Lincoln and Minnehaha County, remind this body that this was in both Governor Dugard's proposed budget as well as in Governor Noem's proposed budget, and I urge your support for this. We really need it in Sioux Falls. For those of you who were able to do the tour, you know that there is just not enough space, and that healthcare has become an important part of what we need to do there in an appropriate way, and we do need this. Thank you.
Any further remarks? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 174. This does require a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Blair. Aye. Bolin. Aye. Kamak. Aye. Cronin. No. DeSanto. Aye. Ewing. Aye. Foster. Greenfield? Heinert? Pardon? Heinert? Aye. Jensen? No. Kennedy? Aye. Plum? No. Colbeck? Aye. Langer? Aye. Maher? Aye. Monroe? Aye. Nelson? Pass. Nesseba? Aye. Northrup? Otten? Aye. Partridge? Aye. Rush? Aye. Russell? Aye. Schoenbeck? Aye. Smith? Aye. Soholt? Aye. Solano? Aye. Stalzer? Aye. Steinhauer? Aye. Sutton? Aye. White? Aye. Wick? Aye. Wismer? Aye. Youngberg? Aye. Nelson. Mr. President, there are 29 yeas, 5 nays, and 1 excused.
Senate Bill 174, having received a two-thirds majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, the title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 177, an act to authorize the Department of Public Safety to remodel an existing structure in Sturgis for use as a state metrology lab, to make an appropriation therefore, and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 177, having received a majority, been a long day. Senate Bill 177, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Partridge.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 177 is an act to authorize the Department of Public Safety to remodel an existing structure in Sturgis for the use as the state metrology lab. The metrology is the science of ensuring that weights and measures are accurate, i.e. a pound is a pound. Without the new lab, South Dakota will lose National Institute of Standards and Technology certification. So we have a problem. And that lab is right here in Pierre. The metrology lab tests the equipment used by both private industry and state inspectors to perform tasks such as verifying the accuracy of grocery store equipment, livestock, truck, grain elevator scales, as well as gas pumps and LPG meters. So essentially, there's an existing building in Sturgis that they found that they could use and upgrade. A lot of the money for this in Senate Bill 177 is for equipment. There's expertise out in the Black Hills. The actual metrology expert lives in Rapid City, actually, and does a lot of traveling. These folks do a ton of travel, going out and inspecting all kinds of equipment. South Dakota School of Mines is also, of course, in Rapid City, as you know, and that can provide expertise to this area. So Department of Public Safety has a building that we can use, and that is deemed to be the most cost-effective option. They use a 300-mile radius for testing, so this isn't an issue related to where it's going to be placed now. They're actually thinking that there might be a possibility to gain more customers. There's some West North Dakota opportunity as well as Montana. So their customer base could expand and they could go forward. So Senate Bill 177 appropriates $1.66 million to upgrade this facility and get our state metrology lab out in Sturgis. I would encourage your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Further remarks on Senate Bill 177? Any further remarks? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 177. Senate Bill 177 also requires a two-thirds majority vote. All in favor vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary will please call the roll.
Senator Blair? Aye. Bolin? Aye. Kamak? Aye. Cronin? Aye. DeSanto? Aye. Ewing? Aye. Foster? Aye. Greenfield? No. Heinert? Jensen? Kennedy? Aye. Plum? Aye. Colbeck? Aye. Langer? Aye. Maher? No. Monroe? Aye. Nelson? Aye. Nesseba? Aye. Norstrup? Aye. Otten? Aye. Partridge? Aye. Rush? Aye. Russell? Schoenbeck? Aye. Smith? Aye. Soholt? Aye. Solano? Aye. Stalzer? Aye. Steinhauer? Aye. Sutton? Aye. White? Aye. Wick? Aye. Wismer? Aye. Youngberg? Aye. Heinert? Aye. Jensen? No. Mr. President, there are 30 yeas, 4 nays, and 1 excused.
Senate Bill 177, having received a two-thirds majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, title is deemed correct.
Senate Senator Monroe, on that last vote, did you change your vote to no? Okay. That will be noted. So it's going to be 29 yeas, 5 nays, and 1 excused.
We've got an extremely efficient young LT there. I think he might have hit it before I yelled, though.
No, I actually, it was, they were taking another vote when you changed your vote, and I think she just didn't catch it.
All's well that ends well. Senate Bill 173, an act to make an appropriation to fund certain healthcare innovation grants, to require certain reports, expedite the nursing home rate methodology review, and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 173, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Senate Bill 173 does a few things. It provides funding for community nursing homes to develop and implement new and innovative approaches to nursing facility care. It provides nursing facility administrators with the opportunity to implement ideas that they haven't been able to support because of financial constraints. It also provides $1 million of the 6 to funding supportive solutions in the areas of primary and prenatal care. We amended this bill in the Senate, or in joint appropriations, to use a contractor to come in and move the rate methodology review that was slated for 2021 for the nursing facilities up a year so we can get more information faster. And that'll just help us make a better decision as to where we go moving forward with nursing homes. So this was one of the governor's plans in her budget address, $5 million to nursing homes, $1 million to prenatal care, and I would urge the support of the Senate, and thank you, Mr. President.
Further remarks on Senate Bill 173? Hearing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 173. This is also a 2/3 majority vote. All in favor will say aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary will please call a roll.
Senator Blair? Aye. Bolin? Aye. Kamak? Aye. Cronin? Aye. DeSanto? Aye. Ewing? Aye. Foster? Aye. Greenfield? Aye. Heinert? Aye. Jensen? Aye. Kennedy? Aye. Klum? Aye. Colbeck? Aye. Langer? Aye. Maher? Aye. Monroe? Aye. Nelson? Aye. Nesseba? Aye. Norstrup? Aye. Otten? Aye. Partridge? Aye. Rush? Aye. Russell? Aye. Schoenbeck? Aye. Smith? Aye. Soholt? Aye. Solano? Aye. Stalzer? Aye. Steinhauer? Aye. Sutton? Aye. White? Aye. Wick? No. Wismer? Aye. Youngberg? Mr. President, there are 33 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 excused.
So Senate Bill 173, having received an affirmative vote of a 2/3 majority vote of the members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 176, an act to make an appropriation for the Second Century Habitat Fund and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 176, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members of the body. Again, today I'm here to introduce you to Senate Bill 176. This is an act to make an appropriation for the Second Century Habitat Fund and to declare an emergency. South Dakota has a hunting heritage matched by no other state. In fact, South Dakota celebrated the 100th pheasant hunting season in 2018. Knowing the importance and meaning of this state, Governor Noem has implemented the Second Century Initiative. With over 80% of South Dakota in private ownership, our wildlife populations rely heavily on the conservation actions carried out by these landowners. Habitat is the foundation to wildlife populations, and to have a meaningful impact, habitat efforts must be focused on private lands through practical solutions. Second Century Initiative will focus on working with landowners to maximize conservation opportunities on marginal lands and implementing working land programs benefiting farmers, operations, and wildlife alike. Short and long-term habitat approaches have been identified, and conservations have begun with potential conservation partners and spearheaded by organizations like Pheasants Forever and South Dakota Corn, which have focused on saline soils, converting highly concentrated saline areas to wildlife-friendly plantings that will restore soil health while provide nesting cover. Long-term programs will include leveraging federal bill programs like the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, where partners working together can tailor-make habitat programs that will benefit farming operations and habitat alike. Second Century Habitat funds will be matched by private donations, contributions, as well as used to leverage large grant opportunities such as those available through the federal Farm Bill. Second Century Habitat funds go beyond actual habitat. It will be used as a tool to strengthen existing conservation partnerships, but also obtain match and support from new partners, especially from agricultural entities and local communities. This legislation provides a unique opportunity to create the momentum to jumpstart the vision of Second Century Initiative. These funds will be a strong mechanism to build more habitat for wildlife, improve water quality and soil by providing voluntary incentive-based programs to landowners. The original proposal for this was $1 million to be matched by private funds. It has been amended to $500,000, and none of these funds can be used until the $500,000 has been matched by private donations. And I would respectfully ask for your vote on Senate Bill 176. Thank you.
Further remarks? Senator Schoenbeck.
Mr. President, I have a question for the last senator, please.
State your question.
I'd ask if the senator could tell us what assurances the public would have that these funds will be expended on public hunting opportunities and not commercial operations.
Senator Colbeck, do you wish to answer?
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Schoenbeck. As we know, there's 49,363,647 acres of land in the state of South Dakota that are owned by individuals. Game production acres are 302,942. Private land is 40,180,788 acres. We as a committee have worked with the Game Fish and Parks on the issue that the senator addressed. They have confirmed to us that they are going to work with us as a committee and report back to us as a committee that these dollars will be used on private land, not hunting preserves and or those locations that are used for commercial hunting. So again, I would ask for your support on SB 176.
Senator Schoenbeck. Any further remarks?
Mr. President.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question for the prime sponsor.
State your question.
Thank you. I'm looking at the bill, and it talks about a Second Century Habitat Fund managed by an executive board of the Second Century Habitat Fund. And my question is there an executive board, and who appointed it?
Senator Colbeck, do you wish to answer?
My understanding, thank you, Mr. President, thank you for the question. My understanding is that this will be executive board or the Game Fish and Parks will handle the funding, and as to the applications for this voluntary-based program for landowners for habitat.
President,
Follow up?
oh, I think I can answer his question,
Oh,
Mr. President.
Senator Maher,
The money is leaving the state, and it's going into the South Dakota
could
Community
you pull your
Foundation.
mic up, Senator Maher?
The money is going to leave the state and go to the South Dakota Community Foundation. And then from there, because I asked this question yesterday in appropriations, so within the realm of the South Dakota Community Foundation is they have the separate fund called the Second Century Habitat Fund. Now, I think that also has its own board. I have no idea how they get on that board, but I also know the South Dakota Community Foundation has its own board. How they get there, I'm not aware of that either. But I do know that there is probably 2 boards there that we're working with.
Senator Kinney, you have the floor.
thank you, Mr. President. And I guess I thank the good senator for his explanation. I'm aware of the South Dakota Community Foundation, and it does have a board. And as I read this bill, there's going to be a board created by somebody who is going to manage this money. But we don't know who that somebody is. We don't know who's on the board. We don't know what the parameters are going to be for the board's function. When I looked this up on the internet this morning, I saw a reference to some sort of second century foundation that has yet to be created. I've got a problem with appropriating $500,000 and just sort of throwing it out there for somebody to catch. So I'd urge voting against this.
Further remarks, Senator Soholt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, to the good senators, I have some of the same trepidations about being concerned about taking taxpayer dollars of $500,000 and seeding something that we fully don't understand. To that end, though, I'm standing up supporting this bill, and I think we should keep it alive, that within the Community Foundation, this Second Century group, which we do need to get an answer of how are people appointed into that group. That would be a 501c3 status, and that's why the sheltering of under the Community Foundation, and then there is a separate board of directors to specifically manage this fund and the direction of this fund. And I agree with the good senator from Yankton area that it's important for us to understand who is administrating that money. I was also very concerned and wanting to bring an amendment to this body that would talk about this $500,000 that over time, this is being used as seed money. So when you want to make money, you almost have to have some money to start really stimulating those private donations, but more importantly, for match grants that come from federal entities or other nonprofit entities. It's not so much the personal contributions, those usually will come in straightforward. And my husband's done a fair amount of work with this, so I have some experience in how this works, in case you're wondering what does a nurse know about any of this. And so, but that to have those stimulus dollars to really leverage the kind of federal dollars as matching money, I think is really an important piece of getting this fund going. Now that said, we have habitat everywhere, and if we're taking taxpayer dollars, it would just stand to reason that we would want that money to go into taxpayer public land habitat development. So in asking that question, when you look at 80% of our lands in South Dakota being private and 10% are public lands, we have another 10% of tribal allotted and trust land. But when you look at that, when I was looking at the bill, if we said, all right, out of this Second Century Habitat Fund, should we say that 10% of that kind of focus should go into public land development, whereas the 90% could go into private habitat development, because we're really trying to enhance habitat for the whole state. And public land development of habitat is not only for pheasants, it's for all kinds of wildlife, big game and others. So I met with the Game Fish and Parks to try to understand what are we doing in public land development in respect, and was really quite impressed that they understand where they're at. If you look at a 10-point scale of 10 being the best in public land development, they say we have a lot of work to do. We're probably at like a 6.7. And so, but looking ahead, and it's too much for the floor of the Senate today, but could see a very solid objective pathway forward by Game Fish and Parks to redevelop the public land habitat. Felt somewhat satisfied that to complicate this $500,000 by trying to put in all these trigger mechanisms, or if we would say, you know, once so much a threshold of money was raised, then that $500,000 of taxpayer money would go into public land development. It seemed more straightforward to leave it the way it was, and also understanding that some of the Second Century funds are about this saline soil proposition, where we have a lot, particularly in central South Dakota, And that has to be also development of public lands, and that they have been working extensively in GF&P to develop public lands and this project forward with Pheasants Forever, South Dakota Corn, other nonprofit groups that exist within the state of South Dakota. Now, all of that said, I agree with the good senator that if we can keep this bill alive and move it, through the next, get it to the next chamber, we could get answers on who is that board that's putting money out, and also to watch moving forward next year, like where are we at in development of this, what are preliminary projects that are being funded, and if we start to see that as a dissatisfied equilibrium in relationship to the percentage of public land development, then we could bring further legislation to make sure that that would happen moving forward. So I would urge us to support Senate Bill 176.
Further remarks? Senator Nesba.
Thank you, Mr. President. This would be a question for the prime sponsor or anyone else who would care to answer this. I see that we have already, there's been some funds appropriated. It looks like there's here's my question. I can see that there was a future fund expenditure of $1.1 million that came out on December 7th that went to the South Dakota Habitat Conservation Foundation that used state money to fund that. Can anybody explain the relationship between that $1.1 million expenditure and the $500,000 we're talking about here?
Any takers? No takers, Senator Nesba. Further remarks? Senator White.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 years ago that they started that. I know one gentleman from Aberdeen that pledged $100,000 to go into this, and it was a matching fund contribution. And I think there's a couple, 3 others. And it was started, I think, by the governor, Dugard. I don't know what the name of it was, but that's probably where this initially started from. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator White. Further remarks? Senator Russell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have a question for the sponsor, and I'm hopeful.
State your question, please.
I'm hopeful that he can answer it for me. In my area, there's quite a bit of controversy regarding the state game fish and parks acquiring private land and making it public. And so I understand from what you said, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that this is exclusively to develop on private land and not to acquire new state lands. What we've got is we've got a problem where the federal government created a public nuisance with prairie dogs in certain areas, overrunning private ranches, and then the Nature Conservancy and other conservation groups came in and found willing sellers for 10 cents on the dollar. And so we don't want that type of, the state acquired a ranch in Fall River County and created an enormous controversy. So what my question is this fund ever going to be used for the purpose of acquiring more public land in the Black Hills and that area of the state?
Senator Colbeck, you wish to answer?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you for the question. Real quick to answer your question, no, this money will not be used to purchase private land. This money is funds that are going to be awarded to this habitat, will be matched by private donations and from clubs like Pheasants Forever, etc. These funds will be a strong mechanism to build more habitat for wildlife, improve water quality and soil health on private lands that are now already classified as private lands and will not be used to buy more public land for the game fish and parks. Thank you.
Further remarks? Hearing no further remarks, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 176. This also requires a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed, nay. Secretary will call the roll.
Senator Blair? Aye. Bolin? Kamak? Cronin? DeSanto? Ewing? Foster? Greenfield? Heinert? Jensen? Kennedy? Klum? Colbeck? Langer? Maher? Monroe? Nelson? Nesseba? Norstrup? Otten? Partridge? Rush? Russell? Schoenbeck? Smith? Soholt? Solano? Stalzer? Steinhauer? Sutton? White? Wick? Wismer? Youngberg? Mr. President, there are 25 yeas, 9 nays, and 1 excused.
Senate Bill 176, having received a 2/3 majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, title is deemed correct.
Senate Bill 178, an act to make an appropriation to the Department of Game Fish and Parks to fund certain improvements to Palisades State Park and to declare an emergency.
Senate Bill 178, having had a second reading, is up for consideration and final passage. Are there any remarks? Senator Sutton.
At 167 acres, Palisades Park is one of South Dakota's smallest parks. The acquisition of the 257 acres of land is much needed for the expansion of recreational opportunities. The draw to this park right now is its spectacular formation that's right next to the Split Rock Creek. The much-needed recreational opportunities will include 50 new campsites, miles of hiking and biking trails, canoe and hiking launches, archery trails, and much, much more. I really encourage you to vote yes on this. One of the areas that I was very concerned with when I was running for a candidate here was opportunities for our young people. And I really believe that this is what this park will do. We need to keep our young people busy in opportunities to participate in different areas, and I believe that's what this park will do. Thank you.
Further remarks on Senate Bill 178? Any further remarks? Hearing none, the question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 178. This also is a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor vote aye. Those opposed nay. Secretary, please call a roll.
Senator Blair? Aye. Bolin? Aye. Kamak? Aye. Cronin? Aye. DeSanto? Aye. Ewing? No. Foster? Aye. Greenfield? Aye. Heinert? Aye. Jensen? No. Kennedy? Aye. Plum? Aye. Colbeck? Aye. Langer? Aye. Maher? Aye. Monroe? No. Nelson? Nay. Nesseba? Aye. Norstrup? Aye. Otten? Aye. Partridge? Aye. Rush? Aye. Russell? No. Schoenbeck? Aye. Smith? Aye. Soholt? Aye. Solano? Aye. Stalzer? Aye. Steinhauer? Aye. Sutton? Aye. White? Aye. Wick? Aye. Wismer? Youngberg. Aye. Mr. President, there are 29 yeas, 5 nays, and 1 excused.
So Senate Bill 178, having received a 2/3 majority of members elect, is hereby declared passed. Any questions on the title? Hearing none, the title's deemed correct.
Senator Langer moves that the balance of the calendar be deferred until Monday, March 4th, the 33rd legislative day.
Comments on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. President.
Senator Cronin.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take this opportunity. At the bottom of the calendar is a commemoration honoring the Kamak Ranch as the 2018 Leopold Conservation Award recipient. And I apologize in advance for my voice. This is really an honor for me to be able to talk about this family. The Leopold Conservation Award is named for a renowned conservationist, Aldo Leopold, and it recognizes farm and ranch families who demonstrate outstanding conservation leadership on their land and in their communities. So I thought how best to honor this family. I think you're up here, right? I've got to know Gary and his wife anyway over the past few years, and I've been out to their place there in Union Center and had the steak tips. But what I envision is when the Kamak family staked their claim in the prairies of western South Dakota. And they developed and had a vision to build a life, to build a family, and a future of success. So they staked their ground, and they bought their cattle, and they raised those cattle. And they sold the calves, the great South Dakota beef, grass-fed beef out there. And then they sold them, reinvested in them, and prospered, and repeated this process with great success for 3 generations. And then the next 3 generations took over. And they had a vision to build a life for their future generations. However, the problem was that the land didn't necessarily agree with the process and the way that they had done it for the first 3 generations. You can't just depend on rain, sun, and good old Mother Earth. There has to be some changes made. And so with their 11,000 acres, their 30,000 trees that they've planted over this time period, since the 3rd generation took over, planting a host of different species of grasses, and believing that it wasn't what you took out of the ground that made you successful, it's what you put into it. The ground is our most important asset, especially to a rancher and to a farmer. The cattle are very important, but the cattle wouldn't be there without the safety and sanctity of Mother Earth. So I think when you go back to the first Kamaks that came to South Dakota, and you look at their vision, I think it's complete. It's complete in the sense that it's returned back to the way it should be, where you take care of the land first. And I think that the pinnacle of this is the Leopold Award. And I couldn't be more proud of my friend and his family. This is a national award. This is very, very important, and I couldn't be more happy for you and Amy, your 4 children, and your grandchildren. And I can't help but say thank you for what you do for the land, and I think we owe them a great round of applause.
Senator Kamak.
Mr. President, thank you for those very kind words. And I'd like to say that the former Leopold Award winner is the Cronin Ranch also. They've done a tremendous job. But I would like to say that the Leopold Award, the main thing about it is that it gives us an opportunity to remind folks that the people that are on the land are the ones that care about it, work it every day. So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kamak. Announcements. Senator Soholt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Health and Human Services on Monday at 10.
Senator Otten.
Transportation, 8:45.
Senator Monroe.
Mr. President, Senate taxation, 10:30, Monday.
Senator Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. President. No local government, Monday morning.
Senator Maher.
Appropriations, 8 o'clock Monday morning for bill hearings, and then after that will be budget setting.
Further announcements? Senator Klum.
Thanks, Mr. President. We have State Affairs Monday morning at 10 o'clock.
Any other announcements? Before we make the motion to adjourn, I've got like 29 Senate bills and 9 House bills to sign, so that's going to take a while. So I expect you to remain in your seats and be really quiet. President is signing Senate Bill 18, an act to update the references of federal laws and regulations regarding pipeline safety inspections and increase maximum civil penalties for certain pipeline safety variations. President is signing Senate Bill 34, an act to make appropriation for the replacement of Elm Lake spillway to declare emergency. President is signing Senate Bill 36, Act to revise membership of the State Work Compensation Advisory Board. President is signing Senate Bill 40, an act to authorize the transfer of certain real property to the Animal Industry Board. President is signing Senate Bill 43, an act to redirect funding from the Coalition Program with Veterinary Medical Education to provide the tax revenue to support of veterinary students. President signing Senate Bill 45, an act to revise the provisions regarding filing statements of additional issue appealing certain contested cases. President signing Senate Bill 53, an act to authorize certain retailers to offer quality discounts to discount the purchase of alcoholic beverages. President signing Senate Bill 63, an act to increase penalty for subsequent conviction to trespass, hunt, fish, trap. President signing Senate Bill 75, an act to revise the provision regarding the eligible to serve a candidate in the event of a vacancy. President signing Senate Bill 76, an act to allow a candidate in the legislative or office district to consider a nomination to a statewide office. President signing Senate Bill 77, an act to revise provisions regarding candidate running for office. President signing Senate Bill 78, an act to exempt certain medical providers from licensing. President signing Senate Bill 85, an act to revise the deadline for the Department of Health annual report regarding abortions. President signing Senate Bill 90, an act to revise provisions regarding certain financial interest statements filed by persons elected to state or local office. President signing Senate Bill 100, an act to reduce the number of petition signatures required for conservation district supervision elections. President signing Senate Bill 113, an act to provide for certain information containing within applications for money lending licenses are public records. President signing Senate Bill 121, an act to revise provision regarding manufacturer warranty for motor vehicles, include all-terrain vehicles. President signing Senate Bill 121, an act to exempt motor vehicles owned by licensed ambulance service for certain motor vehicle registration fees. President signing Senate Bill 143, an act to revise visitation rights of person causing conception by rape or incest. President signing Senate Bill 154, an act to authorize the production and transport of saltwater crustaceans. President signing House Bill 1071, an act to revise and repeal provisions regarding aviation. President signing House Bill 1076, an act to revise certain estate license advertising restrictions and grant rulemaking authority regarding real estate teams. President signing House Bill 1137, an act to revise certain provisions regarding pharmacy benefit managers. President signing House Bill 1157, an act to revise provisions regarding challenges to candidate nominating petitions. President signing House Bill 1200, an act to require posting of contract information for persons serving on the Board of Township Supervisors. President signing House Bill 1255, an act to revise, make an appropriation to the Coordinated Natural Resource Conservation Fund to the State Conservation Commission to declare an emergency. President signing House Bill 1258, an act to create a clean air settlement fund and make appropriation of the fund to declare an emergency. President signing House Bill 1262, an act to make appropriation to reimburse certain healthcare professionals who have complied with the requirement of certain healthcare requirement assistance programs to declare an emergency. President signing House Joint Resolution 1004, rescinding the House Joint Resolution calling for a constitutional convention or convention of the states for the purpose of amending the Constitution of the United States. Not yet.
Senator Maher moves that the Senate do now adjourn.
All in favor of that motion will say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.